Good afternoon. Welcome to the January 14th meeting of Hardin County Fiscal Court. I remind you that this is a voting meeting. If you have cell phones, to please turn them off or put them into vibrate mode. We'll begin with roll call, if you would, Susan.
Easter.
Here.
Doug Goodman.
Here.
Boone. Here. Clem.
Here.
Wiseman.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Ronnie Goodman.
Here.
King.
Here.
Judge Barry.
Here. Mr. Easter will lead us with the invocation, and Mr. Wiseman with the pledge. If you'll please stand.
Join me in a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for your love and your grace. We thank you for this day and most importantly, the blessings of life. We thank you for the last year and all that has been accomplished. I ask that you be with us this year and God direct us and do the same. Lord, I lift up our president, our government, guide and direct them in these hard times and making the appropriate decisions. I also pray for our EMS personnel, our police officers who protect and serve, our firefighters, our EMS. Be with them, keep them safe. More importantly, I pray for the men and women who serve this country, who are overseas, especially in those places in harm's way. I ask that you be with them, bring them home safe, be with their families during their time that they're not there, be with them and guide and direct them. Be with us now, and for all these things we give you all the praise and the glory. And it's in the name of Jesus Christ I pray. Amen. Amen.
Would you please join me in the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin with department reports today, and first up is Mr. Adam King, Planning and Development.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I've got the November and December monthly reports for the Planning Commission. This will also serve as our annual report for 2019. First up, a few items that went before the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment. So on the screen there, the Central Hardin Volunteer Fire Department came before the Planning Commission as a public facility. This will be Fire Station number 3, where they are going to lease an existing 70-foot by 24-foot block building there at the former Scotty's Contracting in Stone on Battle Training Road. So the Planning Commission approved this as a public facility back in December and also agreed to waive all of the review fees as far as land use and building and electrical. Next up, the Planning Commission had a proposed zone change in December. This was from Susan Cox Development and was a proposed Dollar General store in Big Springs, Kentucky. So the zone change was from the rural residential R2 zone to the C1 convenience commercial zone. This zone change was denied unanimously by the Planning Commission on the grounds that it was too close in proximity to the Big Spring from which Big Springs is named. There were concerns with flooding. There were concerns over tearing down the historic home on site. Also that it was out of character with the historical area there in Big Springs. And then lastly, that there would not be adequate fire protection. This site was over 5 miles from Ronnieville Fire Station number 2 and was actually going to be about over 10 miles from the Ronnieville Fire Department there in downtown Ronnieville. So again, that one was denied and no appeal was made. This is another application that went before the board. Mark and Anna Akins are doing business here as the Sicilian Chapel. This is on Methodist Street in Cecilia, and they were granted an additional 4 years. It took them a couple years to get up and running. They rehabbed the building, built the back side up there, did a great job, and they had their grand opening there just a week or two after the board here. Lastly, this is a conditional use permit to allow for what we call an expanded home occupation. So essentially, it's because it's in a detached accessory structure, they needed a conditional use permit. But Mr. Terry Strange there teaches music lessons, more specifically guitar lessons and banjo lessons in a detached accessory structure there in the backyard of the home. So he was approved, some opposition from the neighbors, but he was granted 2 years initially. I apologize, this is difficult to see, so this is the land use application that our office handled for 2019. We did 24 conditional use permits, reviewed 12 development plans for non-residential projects, actually had 8 zone changes for 2019, so that's up, 17 variances, and then our office investigated 19 violations of the zoning ordinance or subdivision regulations. Looking at the number of plats recorded and number of lots recorded, for 2019, we recorded 97 subdivision plats. That is down from 105 in 2018, but that is more than the 5-year average of 92. Looking at the number of lots recorded on those plats, for 2019, we recorded 119 new lots. That is less than 2018 with 139 new lots, but still more than the 5-year average of 113 lots. The asterisk here would be that I've got 3 subdivision with streets that are pending recording. One of those, Rosie Tulip, would be 14 more lots. Victory Estates would be 30 more lots, and Cloverleaf would be 19 more lots. So we definitely have some more lots on the horizon. This is probably my most important thing I'll report here today, would be our single family dwelling numbers. For 2019, we did 154 new single family homes. That exceeds the 149 that we did in 2018. Also exceeds our 5-year average of 137. The estimated construction cost for those 154 new homes is $32.9 million. That would equate on average to about $213,000 estimated construction cost per house. So the numbers definitely look good. Still down from back in 2003, where we were doing about 429 new homes per year. So just a little historical information there for you. Permits for 2019, total building permits was 480. That represents an estimated $41.5 million in construction cost. That's up from 471 in 2018. And actually electrical permits with 1,110 is up from 1,032 in 18. And also agricultural is up to 76 for 2019, where we only did 41 of those in 18. Looking at the inspections performed, we finaled 1,390 inspections. Footers, we did 353 for the year. And then rough inspections on the electrical side, we did 458 for the year. Lastly, visitors. Visitors were down slightly in November with 199. And then in December, things rebounded. We had 184. That's all I've got. Happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Where were most of those new homes built? What part of the county?
So we've started producing this map now. The hottest area is still going to be if you made a triangle between Elizabethtown, Cecilia, and Glendale there. More specifically, the area off Cecilia Smith Mill Road with Habersham and Trotter's Ridge subdivision. But we're still getting a good amount of growth in western Hardin County. So we'll continue to map these every year. I think we've gone back so far from 2013, and it is clustered around E-Town, Radcliffe, and Vine Grove, but we're getting growth everywhere. You can see there with the red dots. But still that area, you know, we hear it time and time again that they want Central Hardin High School, Lincoln Trail Elementary School and East Hardin Middle School, so that E-Town, Glendale, Cecilia Triangle still is the most prevalent.
Any other comments or questions? Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Hardin County Engineering, Ms. Vicki Meredith.
Good afternoon, Judge Berry and members of Fiscal Court. Today I'd like to give you an update on the engineering department and hit some of my favorite topics, ones that are easy to kind of put into a graph and kind of show you what's going on. The erosion prevention, sediment control, public concerns, and talk a little bit about rainfall data. For 2019, from January to December, for our erosion prevention sediment control, we did a little over 1,100 inspections. We did 30 notice of violations, but didn't have any stop work orders. So in this graph, you can kind of see how they vary throughout the year. Some of it has to do with our availability, other has to do with rainfall and when we want to get out there. So as you can see, it kind of varies throughout the different months. And kind of the same thing with regard to the notice of violations. As you can see, in June, we had 10, which usually goes around. It just rained quite a bit up to that point, and there are some areas that really need to be taken care of. Silt fence that may have fallen, or stabilized construction entrances that are not really taking care of, and it's allowing dirt to be tracked onto the road. So with these notices of violation, 25 of them were the first ones. If you don't respond for the first one, the first 7 days, then you will get a second one. But we only had to send 5 out as the second notice of violation. And kind of looking at it over the last, since 2011, you can kind of see how it varies over the year. Some of it has to do with the amount of houses, but more often it has to do with just our manpower availability and special projects that we may be doing. Annual NOVs and work orders, that really is driven by 2 things. Typically, by the number of houses, how much rain, and then the contractors taking care. So in 2017, we had 65 notices of violation, but usually once you get their attention again, you can move forward, and they're usually very cooperative. It's just that they've got other things to do, and it may not be the first thing on their list. We just make sure it is the first thing on their list. Public concerns, we talk about drainage, erosion concerns, floodplain permitting, new construction, sinkholes, whatever may be of concern to the public. We've just been tallying the calls. So in 2019, we had 37 calls, and we closed 30 of them. We're going to reevaluate this. There are other people that walk in. There's a lot of other ways to contact us. So we're going to, I think if we modify our response or our recording, then it'll be a more accurate listing of what actually goes on in the department. And as for addressing, in 2019, 185 new addresses were issued. 150 of those were houses, 24 were mobile homes, 3 were commercial, and 8 of them were barns or other types of facilities. And talking a little bit about rainfall, if you recall, 2018 was a record year. We had the highest rainfall event ever recorded here in Kentucky, or since they did recordings over the last 125 years or so. In 2019, it kind of looked like we were heading in the same direction because up through June, it was a lot of rain. And then we hit July, August, and September, and it really went down quite a bit. And I thought, well, we're just kind of going to be average. But if you start looking at it, at the rainfall versus the average that we typically have and the actual rainfall, the average total rainfall would have been 34.5 inches, and we hit over 60 inches again this year. So that runs into somewhere in the top 10. I think it's about 6 or 7. So we're still way up there in the amount of rainfall. So we've had 2 record years pretty much. And then I started looking at it also, trying to look at it per month to try to see if there's any rhyme or reason as to what month gets the most rain. So this is actually a different kind of graph where you actually have from 2009 all the way through 2019 per month, or per year, and then per month. So all the Januaries, all the Februaries, all the Marches. And you can see that there are a few peaks. For instance, April has a peak there, and it was in 2011, and it just so happens that that was the second highest annual rain we had. But all in all, it really just depends on how the year goes. It's really hard, as everyone knows, to predict the rain and how it's going to fall. So our goal is just to try to take care of it the best we can, make sure it passes through our drainage systems as properly as possible, and try to protect the citizens here of Hardin County the best we can. I know this has come up to questions, but I do want to add one more thing, just a quick plug on the census. I really should have put something in there for it, but as I've talked previously, and as you all know, census is coming up in April, so I will talk more in detail in my March presentation. But as for today, just so you know what's going to happen, in March, they're going to start sending invitations out in the mail. So between March the 12th and the 20th, everyone's going to get an invitation in the mail. If you don't respond, then between March 16th and 24th, they're going to send you a reminder letter. Then if you haven't responded, between March 26th and April the 3rd, you're going to get a reminder postcard. Then between April the 8th and the 16th, a reminder letter and paper questionnaire will be sent. And then if you still haven't responded, they are going to come and visit your house. So it's really important for everyone to be counted. I hope everyone understands how important it is. Yes, I know sometimes you toss something in the trash and you didn't mean to, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities. And with this, the best thing about it is that these invitations are going to give you the opportunity to go online, fill it out quickly. There's a series of 8 to 10 questions, and really they just want to know who lives in the house, what age, and just a few basic parameters about everyone. The reason this is so important is because it is the vehicle that is used to distribute federal funding. So if you're not counted, if your family's not counted, then we don't get the funds to help support your family or you. So it's very important. Now to the questions.
Doesn't sound like an invitation to me.
That was a nice
They could have
invitation.
used another term.
That's just a nice way of saying notice.
Yeah. So I'm hoping everyone will just say, yeah, let's just go ahead and get it done. Respond to the first one. Don't have them to keep sending it out to you. All of it's electronic, so they know when you go online, when you fill it out, then your address goes into a different category. So if you haven't filled it out, it stays in. But these people haven't responded yet. Send another postcard out. Send another letter out.
Just RSVP to your invitation.
Exactly.
It's going to be there, Roy.
Yes.
Any other comments, questions? Thanks, Vicki.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Next, we'll hear from the Hardin County Road Department, Mr. Dwight Morgan.
Good afternoon, Judge, members of Fiscal Court.
Good afternoon.
I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and Happy New Year to you. I am here to give my November and December road department report. For the months of November and December, we were down somewhat in our encroachment permits, a few $100. On our road signs, we continue to replace with new. It seems like it continues to grow. Every report that are repaired and other are all up. On our daily work activities, we continue to basically patch our roads each and every day. Our inmates continue to do a good job for us. We've got some excellent employees that are overseeing those inmates, and I can tell you that they've really done us a nice job. And I'm really sad that we lost one of our inmates. But it's a good thing too, because he's got to go home. So hopefully he's going to make his way back to Hardin County. But he was a very talented young man, and we've really had some really good inmates, really good people. But our mow trimming, we're kind of down at the moment. Our tractor had some issues, and yes, again, Daniel, John Deere's do break down. We had another issue with John Deere, so. Operator error. No, it wasn't that, but you know, when you get a few thousand hours, things are just going to break. So, it'll be back out probably on the road in a couple weeks. But we just about completed a complete cycle, which hasn't been done for I think a couple 3 years. So we're very excited. I think some of the issues that we've had with that, you leave a little bit more material that's been ground up. As we go back, I think it'll be a lot less. We'll have a lot less calls in the office on just how that, what that a piece of equipment leaves as far as the debris. Shoulder repair, we were doing a lot of shouldering, ditching. We've done quite a bit on some of the roads that out in Sonora way there, Mr. Thompson. Of course, we've done quite a bit over on Lower Colesburg Road, but it continues to be something that we need to do more of. It just takes a lot of time and equipment. We've got a lot to do on the up and coming roads, our discretionary roads that we need to get prepared for resurfacing this spring. So we've done a little bit of stump removal. We continue our tree trimming, tree removal, and brush chipping. We're in full swing. We do that every day. The guys have removed a lot of dangerous trees, and hopefully that'll help us down the road on getting calls during those high wind storms and just keeping our county safe. Our total patcher, I will tell you that before the end of November, I ordered a full load of 80-90 oil. We've got a tank out there that holds a little over 5,000 gallons, and we've already used it up. So we're basically back to our hot box and using our co-patch that's heated up. And so we've gone through a lot of material. When you do that with the oil, it's about $10,000 for that 5,000 gallons plus your rock. I mean, we use a lot of rock, and it's pretty expensive because it's a wash rock, so it's about $14. Actually, it's $15 a ton now. So our discretionary roads that we did get completed was Mason Road, Limp Road, and Meeting Creek Road. We still have Star Mills Road that needs to be resurfaced. As soon as the asphalt plants form back up, it'll be the one of the first ones back on that list to get that first round of discretionary roads that we have. We've got that second round that we'll be working on in the upcoming couple of months on Needham, Laurel Ridge, and Howe Valley Road. And then we also have one of our Flex Fund roads, which is Constantine Road. It's about 6 miles long. So we've got a lot of work to get done, and hopefully we can get it done before the end of the fiscal year. Let's see, total patching. I've talked to you about that. I've told you about what we spent on that. Dugan Switch Road. This is just one of the roads that we've got our big bucket truck out on. You can see that one of our employees is he's a pretty good ways up in the air on that one, and but it's something that they do every day. So, but they had several trees on that particular road that they were working on that particular day. But Captiva Court, this is a subdivision that was built back in the mid-2000s. It's not quite built out. I had a request to do a site visit on 5 different lots. 3 of those lots, we had some drainage issues. I actually spotted that pretty quick. We went back out along with working with the engineering department. And we came up with a plan on some drainage issues. We actually replaced back up on that road a few hundred feet. We put in place 3 drainage tiles across the road. We had to increase the size on this driveway, and as you can see, it was a concrete driveway, so we had to pour that and finish that, and we got that all done right before we had a little bit of rain that come in. So just happened to work out real good for this time of year. The weather's been very, for the most part, pleasant in our terms because we haven't had the snow and we haven't had to spend the money on the salt. So so far, so good, because the prediction, if you all follow the Frymire report, it was going to be about 50 inches of snow this time. So I hope that just stays north, Judge, and we don't have to spend that money. Any questions?
On your replacement signs, what is that, damaged, stolen, all of the
Replacement
above?
signs, let's see, I've addressed that before, Roy. I'll have to get back with you on that. I don't remember right now.
I don't need a number, I'm just trying to figure out.
I'll
Is it
have to get back with you on that one.
Okay.
Can't think of it at the present time, but one thing I would want to encourage you to do, I know legislative day is coming up in February, and the last few years our legislature was going to address our infrastructure, our roads and bridge issue on the shortage of funding. If you need any help on things to talk to them about, I would be happy to sit down and talk to you. But please encourage those folks to, if they get anything out of committee and taken to the floor for a vote, that will improve our funding for your roads and bridges, please, I would encourage you to do that.
Mr. Morgan, I simply want to say thank you to you for the work that you do with what you have. Our resources are limited, but you go at it really with almost more than a passion for getting the best done for our roads, and I very much appreciate that. I guess I learned that as we served together as magistrate, and you were the chair of the Public Works Committee. And now that you're serving us in this capacity, I want you to know that I really do appreciate your efforts to continually improve and get us to the next level with our roads. I will tell you that I will do my best to get a meeting set up with all of our state representatives and the senator, if he'll meet with us too, while we're there on the 20th in Frankfurt. They met with some of us last year, and they did hear us. We didn't see much of a real result from that, but I think if we continue to let them know the issues that are out here, which I intend to do, there are several. One of the main ones is needs for our roads. We're going to keep addressing that, so I'll be getting with you to learn more and more about what we need to take forward to Frankfurt. I do want to ask a question that I guess I find myself a little bit prompted by some of my constituents, and also just as I was seeing this picture of Captiva Court. That's not a chip and seal road, is it?
No, it's a blacktop.
Do we have chip and seal roads that a number of miles on that or anything?
No.
You're not aware of any? Okay,
No.
I just want to make sure that if we have any that
Very little gravel, and there's
we get them to a higher priority than other roads that are out there. I'll be talking with you a little bit later about that.
A lot of them got chips in them, but no seal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Chips with no seal.
Got holes too.
But thank you very much.
Oh, you're
What
welcome.
about the bridge down there? Where's it?
Oh, on Laurel Ridge? Well, it's in the process. Of course, you all approved Mr. Spalding, the engineer from Bardstown, so he's working on that. I'm not sure exactly where he's at in the stage of that, but he's kind of given us an outline on a time frame, and I'd be glad to get that for you.
Any other comments? Thanks for a good report.
Well, hey, thank you, Judge.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, and y'all have a nice day.
Ordinances, resolutions, we don't have any for consideration today, so that brings us to the consent agenda. It was included in your electronic packet. Are there any additions or corrections that need to be made?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Doug Goodman, second by Ms. Boone. Discussion. Hearing none, Susan?
Doug Goodman.
Yes.
Boone.
Yes.
Clem.
Yes.
Wiseman.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Ronnie Goodman.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Judge Barrett.
Yes.
Easter.
Yes.
We'll start around the table today with Mr. Wiseman.
Judge, due to the Martin Luther King holiday on Monday, the 20th, we have moved the solid waste meeting to Tuesday, the 21st at 2 o'clock in the meeting, in the room across the hall. Everybody's invited to be there. It's right before the Resource and Community meeting that same day.
All right. Mr. Thompson?
I just want to take this opportunity for those of our constituents that may pay attention to this. With the session in Frankfurt, legislative session now, I encourage you to contact representatives and senator, communicate with them our local needs, our local concerns. A primary concern that I have is our roads, and as I've worked with Mr. Morgan over the years, I don't know how we're able to do what we do because the funding just doesn't seem to be anywhere near adequate, and the state doesn't take the responsibility to just bite the bullet and do what needs to be done. You need to encourage them to do that if you want county roads that are up to par. The other thing I would urge you to do is if you have issues that truly are state issues or federal issues, make sure that your constitutional rights are protected by contacting those representatives that you have who can make the difference. There are some local things that we have authority over, but the state we're answerable to, the federal government we're answerable to, and we legally cannot go against what happens there. So I would encourage citizens who have issues that have to do with protections of your rights with the state, that you start contacting your state legislators, and I just encourage all of you to let them know where you stand on those kinds of issues. It's very important that we do not allow our constitutional rights to be eroded. So I encourage you to do something yourself. Contact them. Thank you.
Mr. Ronnie Goodman?
I have nothing.
Mr. King?
Judge, I don't have anything today. Thank you.
Mr. Easter?
E.G. got on mine.
Mr. Doug Goodman?
I'll yield mine to Squire Boone. Looks like she's got a bundle.
Oh, yeah.
Ms. Boone?
No, just a reminder, as Mr. Wiseman said, the Resource and Community Support Committee will meet next Tuesday, January 21st at 3, right after the solid waste meeting. So we'll be at 3 o'clock across the hall. Everybody's invited to attend.
Mr. Clem?
Just my public service announcement. Please don't text and drive and don't drink and drive. Please.
Please.
Susan, anything from the clerk's office?
No, sir. Thank
Ms.
you.
Oldham, anything from your office?
No, thank you.
And I remind everybody that our next meeting of Hardin County Fiscal Court is on Tuesday, the 28th of January at 3:30 in the afternoon here in the courtroom. And if there's nothing else to come before us, the motion would be in order for us to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Wiseman. Hearing no objection, we stand adjourned.